What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. That Kickstarter for the Wonderful 101 went live yesterday, and wow, it took over the internet for a bit, even got Wii U trending on Twitter. I know, right? That's something else right there on its own, but we're going to talk a bit about that Kickstarter and some of the information around how this is all even happening, considering the Wonderful 101 isn't just going to be on the Switch. Yeah, some interesting backstory there, we should say. And then also, we need to talk a bit about PlatinumGames, because outside of just that Wonderful 101 Kickstarter, they're also in the news for launching this odd teaser site, and we have some information around what it means exactly now, and we can start speculating about all kinds of stuff coming up. It seems like it's going to be a pretty fun year for PlatinumGames and any of their fans. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button does help out. I appreciate you guys like the videos. Like I said, over the past month or so, it has helped the videos out a lot. And if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe down below with the little red button as we work towards 400,000 subscribers. We're actually going to start today with Phantasy Online 2. It's a game that I'm very excited to try out starting this week. Actually, on Friday, they will have the closed beta for the Xbox Insider Hub go live, and we've been getting more and more information that's been kind of put out there. They have a Phantasy Star Online 2 Twitter handle now that is basically putting information out in waves, and one of them was pretty neat because I had mentioned, I hope that there is some sort of enhancements or even 4K support for the Xbox One X, and it looks like that is going to be the case, as you're seeing here. They tweeted out, explore the Phantasy Star Online 2 universe in higher resolution. Phantasy Star Online 2 will feature 4K support and expanded UI display size on Xbox One X, and that is great. I was concerned that maybe just it being moved over wouldn't be something that they would look into the enhanced consoles, because to be honest, most of us will just be excited that it was just moved over in the first place, and it is a bit of an older game technically if you look at it, but I mean, it actually being upscaled or even just put out there in 4K with a better UI, they say expanded UI, will only help the game. So I'm actually excited to play it right away on Friday. Already signed up, ready to go. Just gotta get there. It's just a bit of a wait. Oh, and we had talked about Warcraft 3 Reforged yesterday and all of the problems. Now people were looking to get refunds. It looks like, at least right now anyway, the refunds are just automated. Blizzard has this set up on their website where you can go if you had purchased it and you can just get your money back. You don't even really talk to anyone. You go through a little process, a couple of button clicks, and as long as you did legitimately buy the game from them and they can verify that, they will just refund the money too. It really shows just how poor this game release was, that they are just doing automated refunds. Now, I don't know how long it will last, so if you want to get your money back, you should do it now, because they could just tear it down, and then we don't actually have any way of doing that without talking to a customer service rep maybe that will try to convince you 7 different times before finally refunding you. So while it's automated, go check it out if you want to get your money back for what's been a pretty lackluster at best release for Warcraft 3 Reforged. And we also had a game that was originally exclusive to the Switch, now moving over to PC. And this isn't really new. If Nintendo has published it, there might be like timed exclusivity on it that we're not necessarily told about until it's announced for another platform. And we had Travis Strikes Again, of course, going to like the PlayStation 4 and I believe Steam. And then we, of course, had Octopath Traveler. That went to Steam as well. And now it looks like Daemon X Machina will be doing the same thing. Now, I do think Marvel has had some odd choices, I'll say, which is one of the reasons you're mostly just seeing pictures here for Daemon X Machina, because if you did anything with video, they weren't happy about it. They would copyright claim it, certain cutscenes, parts of the game in general, and people just kind of stayed away from it. And for the most part, marketing wasn't enough to hold it up anyway, and based on Nintendo's last financial reports, we didn't hear anything about it. So that tells me it just didn't sell well. Hopefully Steam will help them do a bit better with it, because I do like kind of the mech genre. I'd like to see more of it, like the Armored Core type series, but they really hurt that game in the public eye and just getting it out there. They should have more or less leveraged YouTube personalities and people who are streaming rather than punish them for playing the game and showing it in videos. It was an odd thing there. The one cool thing about it going to Steam is there is a very good possibility that it'll be modded, and you'll see things like Gundams and maybe different characters, stuff from Gundam Wing get put in there. Hopefully the modding community has fun with this one, because that'd be a pretty cool thing to see. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with Wonderful 101, as it has now been kickstarted for PlatinumGames. And we kind of heard about this. Of course, Game Explain put out the report saying that this was going to be happening, and it looked like it was going to be happening this week after more and more people started to put information out there. So we kind of knew we were to expect this, that this would actually show up sometime on Monday, and it did later on in the afternoon. And when it showed up with a bang, because as soon as it got put out there, this thing exploded with backers. Seriously, at this point, it's hit all of its platform funding goals, which were going to be the Switch, PC on Steam specifically, and then on the PlayStation 4 in that order. So the Switch was $50,000, the Steam was $250,000, and then the PlayStation 4 was $500,000. Now, you might look at that and say, wait, the Switch only needed $50,000 for that. Okay, so the way I look at this is they were pretty much done, or at least they were able to port it to the Switch. They had probably been working on it for as long as they've been teasing it, even just to, okay, how can we move this over? Because of course the Wii has the gamepad. I don't think you necessarily need it the whole way through or anything with Wonderful 101, but you still have to kind of rework the code, make sure it's all ready to go if you port it to something that is different like the Switch or the PlayStation 4 or even your PC on Steam. But I think they had been working on it for a while before that, and this was just basically part of the journey to the PlayStation 4, because there is some backstory here as to how this even happened, because it seems like Wonderful 101 is still trademarked and owned in some part by Nintendo and also PlatinumGames. It's an odd thing here. They even said that Astral Chain is actually 50-50 between PlatinumGames and Nintendo, but Wonderful 101, how is it going to somewhere like, I don't know, the PlayStation 4? While we've seen some Nintendo games, we just talked about Octopath, right? And we talked about Travis Strikes Again and Daemon X Machina. Those are going to Steam, and most people at this point say, okay, that's cool, that, more people will get to play the game, but it is strange to hear about Nintendo saying, okay, yeah, we'll do PS4, that works, because it's not really something they've done. In fact, PlatinumGames and Hideki Kamiya has admitted that much in several interviews that were under embargo that went live alongside of the Kickstarter. Hideki Kamiya had quite a bit to say about the relationship with Nintendo and how they're able to do this in the first place. When asked about the port, Hideki Kamiya said, "We felt it did not quite reach the audience that it deserved. As creators, we are very confident in the game. The project is a unique opportunity to bring the fans together and see how far the game can go, which is why we went the crowdfunding route. We did speak with Nintendo about it initially, but they said you either do it only with us or you do it yourselves. But speaking with them, they allowed us to cut a deal. So we took upon ourselves to start this project. Dangan Entertainment is helping us. That's a whole situation on its own that we won't get into. And we have seen successful campaigns in the past, Bloodstain in particular, so we saw it as a very unique and interesting opportunity." And I have to admit, well, the Wonderful 101 crowd who's been saying this whole time that they want the game being ported to the Switch, they showed up, so they put their money where their mouth was. There you go. That actually happened. They backed it up. Now, it is interesting to hear that Nintendo cut a deal with them. It's also interesting to hear that Nintendo apparently would have funded this project if it was only on the Switch. And that kind of makes sense. I mean, you don't really expect Nintendo to say, oh, we'll fund it and it'll go to the PS4. No, that really doesn't make any business sense, right? If they're going to invest in a project like this, that after seeing how it originally sold on the Wii U, which wasn't great, they would want it to at least try to bolster the lineup for the Switch even further and maybe fill in like a month or a window during a year where they can have that go out and it be something that can hold up a few months or something throughout a release calendar. But if it's also on the PS4, it doesn't really give them much of an advantage or even a reason to fund it. So they cut some kind of deal. I don't know if that means that Nintendo gets a portion of the sales from this. It's really hard to say, but in other interviews, that one was with Gamatsu. There was also Video Game Chronicles. It appeared that just their relationship currently with Nintendo being as good as it is, with things like Astral Chain, we've seen Bayonetta, for example, that Nintendo was a bit more lenient with PlatinumGames, and they pointed out specifically that this is kind of unprecedented for Nintendo to actually do it. But overall, with over 12,600 backers coming up on $850,000 at the time of this recording, and them only needing $500,000, but now moving up to stretch goals of $1 million and $1.5 million, it seems like Wonderful 101 has made a bit of a revival here. In fact, if you look at that, it's actually sold technically more copies than it did its first week in Japan, according to Media Create, which was about 5,000 to 6,000 copies. So yeah, the Wonderful 101's doing a bit better there if it's already outselling what the Wii U did. Also, some of the tiers are pretty funny. One in particular is that Kamiya will block you on Twitter if you would like him to. But otherwise, I looked down, it was about, for a physical copy, about $40 USD. You have to convert it from yen. But not bad, I think, and they are looking to have this out by April, starting April 2020, so just in a few months. Yeah, the port was probably mostly done, and I bet you a lot of this has to do with distribution and publishing the game themselves. So there you go. It looks like they're going to independently do this without Nintendo's help, but Nintendo has some kind of deal with them on it for, I guess, profits or residuals. Who knows there? But good for PlatinumGames, because the next topic actually has this roll right into it. And that has to do with a website that was launched. We were waiting for Wonderful 101 to go up on Kickstarter, as we had a report about it going live this week. But something else happened. PlatinumGames launched a website with a big 4 in the middle, and we had no idea what that meant. It was an odd thing to see. It was just 4.platinumgames.com, but now it's become a bit more clear as to what this is. People were thinking, oh, it must be the 4th entry in a game. This actually looks more or less like how Capcom had the Capcom 5 back in the day. This appears to be the Platinum 4. Yeah, because as soon as that Wonderful 101 Kickstarter went up, it did update, and one of those stars updated as being the Wonderful 101, the new one that they're doing through Kickstarter, the port, which leads us to believe that there are then 3 other games that are coming. And at this point, it's anyone's guess as to what the other 3 slots could be. I immediately thought of Nier. That would make sense. I guess they could slot Bayonetta 3 in there, but most likely that's something that Nintendo will advertise and market themselves, with PlatinumGames doing most of the developing, obviously. So I think maybe one of them could be Nier, a new Nier game. The other could be, I don't know, Okami 2. That would be pretty cool. I remember Liam Robertson had talked about that a while ago, and I thought that was an awesome thing to hear about, but nothing since then. However, Hideki Kamiya has done some teasing with it. That would be pretty neat if they were all able to do something and come to some kind of deal to develop and create Okami 2. It's also possible people were saying Drakengard, which is, that'd be something to see that one. It's hard to say. We could even see a new IP. Maybe they've already done a lot of work, similar to how they've already done a lot of work on this port for Wonderful 101 before we even hear about it in a Kickstarter campaign, and here it comes 2 months later. Maybe they've already done a lot of the work on their new IP, at least conceptually, like they've thought of the idea, the plot, the characters, maybe even done some of the artwork, and they're ready to unveil a title going forward here that we can look towards years from now, maybe, for their new IP that would involve that funding from Tencent. A lot of possibilities here, but at least we know it's not like a 4th entry. It's 4 game projects of some kind. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 and how it's probably being revealed soonish in some way. I still wonder if it could show up in a state of play where they could just randomly announce it online and say, hey, tune in tomorrow for something with the PlayStation 5 to see the future of PlayStation, right? This is very possible because they've been on a bit of a trademarking spree. We talked about previously how they had done this in Switzerland and other places, and it looks like they have continued to do so now with several other trademarks appearing online. Gamatsu kept rounding them up as we went along, and you can see some of them here. That includes places like, of course, the US, New Zealand, Australia, and they have Switzerland and the UK in there as well. Yes, it looks like the PlayStation 5 reveal is coming up. These trademarks are all getting kicked around, similar to what I believe happened before the PS4 was unveiled, February 2013? Yes, February 2013. They had a lot of trademarks there too. There are articles you can actually check out that pointed this out and said maybe a PS4 unveiling's coming up, and it did at the end of February. But there have been a lot of rumors showing up that could be this week, could be next week, at some point. I think most of us are expecting it in February, which means the way PlayStation's been going recently, it's probably like March. They've been doing things a bit different, and that's because they can pretty much do that. I mean, they're the market leader, and they do things like show a PS5 logo that everyone knows what it'll look like for the most part, and then it still blows up Instagram. But they've done things like not go to E3 2 years in a row, which is shocking the first time they did it, and now it's kind of expected even a little bit now, I guess, but still surprise some people in a year where they are supposed to be unveiling and telling us why we should buy a brand new console from them. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about the PS5. Maybe not a complete and utter unveiling of it. Maybe they'll do another event down the road as well, but something to at least give us an idea of what it looks like and possibly some of the features around the main system, and then maybe like 1 or 2 game reveals with more to come later on. Strategically around E3, we'll say. I would like to see Bluepoint's project, and I hope that that's something they would use to showcase the PS5 if they want to show off some of the features, but maybe they just go crazy and say, here's the PS5, here's some cool stuff that it does, and here's like Horizon Zero Dawn 2. That would probably be enough for a lot of people. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about something that has me a bit concerned for that Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, which we've known about for a while, over a month now, and nothing's happened from it. It's just been quiet, and I think a lot of us were hoping it was going to come out at the end of January. But what if I told you Nintendo had plans for a demo a while ago and they just never did anything with it? That was for Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah, there was a Breath of the Wild demo that was fully uploaded to the eShop, and they just never did anything with it. It's apparently still there because data miners managed to find it. You can actually see it right here, and several outlets, including Nintendo Soup and others, actually started posting about this. And what caught my eye about this one is they uploaded it January 30th, 2018, which was almost a full year after Breath of the Wild released. Almost like they wanted to have something else to kind of go out maybe after that DLC hit, and they could just kind of put it out there and get some more people interested. However, by then, the game had already been selling like crazy, but the file size was only 270 megabytes. So I almost wonder if this was like just a shrine. Maybe something we've never seen before. That's the one interesting part. What if this is a shrine that was a demo level only and we still have yet to ever see it? That would be kind of neat if it just randomly popped up on the eShop and they're like, here's a demo for whatever reason for Breath of the Wild. You know, that game that you've probably already beaten because everyone bought it with their Switch. More people bought Breath of the Wild than the Switch because remember, the Switch had a shortage like most consoles do when they first come out because they only ship so many, but everyone still bought Breath of the Wild, so it actually outsold the Switch. Super weird to see it over a 1 attach rate, but it happened. So most likely Nintendo saw those sales and they said, well, we don't really need a demo, but it was already planned with the DLC coming out to kind of give it a bit more of a second wind. However, it's been evergreen ever since it came out, so they were like, well, there's no real reason to have it, and it's just sitting on the eShop servers still. I hope that doesn't happen with Final Fantasy VII Remake because they pushed it back, and by the time March rolls around, hopefully that demo will be out because I'm ready to play that game. We would have been 1 month out from it now. And we know there's a demo that was uploaded next to Patapon 2. Patapon 2 is out, but there's no Final Fantasy VII Remake demo, so here's hoping we get it soon. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This one's from Lucia saying, it's still about the cloud saves for me. Although I agree one island per Switch is a weird decision from the devs, nevertheless, game backup is so important, they should give us a solution. So I did think about it with the Animal Crossing stuff, and I realized, you know, that's probably not gonna affect me much at all because I don't share my Switch really with anyone. It's just like I'd be using it. So the one island is just, okay, sure. I don't think I'd want to start several islands. That's just me. But back in the day, we'd still have a memory card and we could still move our data around, even copy it to other memory cards. So we had a way to back it up. And now I look at that and I say, man, Animal Crossing can last you a long, long, long time, right? I mean, does the game ever really end? No, you just kind of keep going along, right? People play it for years. That would be a devastating thing to lose, right? The save. Let's say you've played it for 4 years, you got everything set up, it's great. And then something happens to your Switch, right? I mean, seriously, it could, let's say your Switch just breaks, something happens inside, that's it, it's just gone. It is odd that they haven't even thought of a backup solution just for Animal Crossing itself, and I hope they come up with something, even if it's just inside the game and they can control it, right? Like you have to upload to something they have set up and it's monitored, I don't know, but just a way to be able to save the data from your island, just upload it in some way to a server somewhere so that if you do lose your Switch, you don't lose years of progress. I think that is like the biggest issue with Animal Crossing. The one island thing is going to bug people who have brothers and sisters that might ruin their game or their island, but still, the backup thing is the biggest concern by far. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go do it here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the Kickstarter with Wonderful 101. How do you feel about that? And did you back it? Because people were shocked at how many people really hit that Kickstarter hard. It's probably going to cross 1 million units by the time it's $1 million in backing before it hits the 24-hour mark of it being live, and it still has like 30 days to go. So this is a big deal for PlatinumGames. It seems like it was very successful for them, but let me know what you think about PlatinumGames having a Kickstarter for Wonderful 101. 50,000 for that Switch version, by the way. Tells me it was done, but maybe they wanted to have it as a way to step up to the Steam version and then the PlayStation 4 version, so they could hit that multi-platform deal there. Also, let me know what you think about the Platinum 4, I guess is what we'll call it now. What do you think those other 3 slots are? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.